I'm Lissa Coffey. I'm the author of a book called What's Your Dosha, Baby? Ayurveda's Guide to Great Relationships, and you can find at whatsyourdosha.com. I have a dosha quiz on there where you can take a test to see what your dosha is, and everything's free. I've got so many articles on there and everything, and it's all free. And then there's links to where you can buy the book on Amazon and links to some of the other things I have on my website. So basically, what is Ayurveda? Ayurveda is the science of life. It's a 5,000-year-old practice from India. It's the art of living in harmony with nature, and it's the world's oldest form of medicine. So what happened was in India 5,000 years ago, Ayurveda was developed by the rishis. You'll find Ayurveda in the Upanishads. You'll find it in the Bhagavad Gita. And then Dhanvantari, who is that guy, Lord Dhanvantari, made it a science unto itself. And so it's really a system of healthcare. And if you notice the word Ayurveda, what does it have in common with Vedanta? Veda. Veda means knowledge, wisdom. So Ayurveda is the science of life, or the knowledge of life. And where Vedanta gives us tools for how to go beyond life, what's the purpose of life, and how to get enlightened, and how to get out of the cycle of birth and death, Ayurveda tells us how to live a happy, healthy life right here and now. And why would we want to do that? Because the longer we live, the more time we have on this planet, the more chances we have for enlightenment. So it's very important for us to be healthy. And if you've noticed, at times when you're sick or you're in pain or you have a headache, you don't really feel in a spiritual mood, do you? But when you're healthy, you don't notice the body. You don't notice, the mind, the distracted thoughts. It's easier for you to get in a great state of deep meditation. So that's the benefits of practicing Ayurveda. So Ayurveda is a sister science with Vastu. Vastu is the science of architecture. Jyotish, which is the science of like astrology and stars. Yoga, which is another philosophy that has to do with the chakras and everything else. And we've been practicing the yoga asanas in this retreat. Meditation, and also Vedanta. And in Ayurveda, there are 3 pillars of health. This is very important: food, sleep, and activity. And each one of them is just as important. And just as Sarvapriyananda said today, food is not just what we take in with the mouth. We have all these organs, and it's what we take in with the skin. The skin actually eats. In fact, many people who can't tolerate medication can take transdermal medication and get their medication that way. It's what we hear, which is important, that we listen to sattvic music and chanting instead of loud, crazy, wild music that's gonna, make us loud, wild, and crazy. And what we see. So we want to see beautiful things. And we want to see nature. We want to see greenery. There's a whole movement now called green therapy, where we need to get out of the office, get out of the cities, and get into nature like we are right here. And also, it's having things in order so that, a confused office space, a confused bedroom, a confused home makes for a confused mind. So all these things are very important to all of us. Okay. The basis of Ayurveda is that everything in the world is made up of the 5 elements. And what are those? Air, space, fire, water, and earth. Everything in the universe, including us. We are beings made up of all of this. And it makes sense, right? Because if there's a oneness within us all, and the plants and natures and everything, we're all made up. That's our prakruti, our constitution. So in Ayurveda, what the rishis did is they took those elements And they looked at the combinations of elements and called them doshas. So there's 3 doshas based on the combination of elements. So vata is a combination of air and space, pitta is a combination of fire and water, and kapha is a combination of water and earth. So those are the 3 main doshas. Now, most people say, the biggest question I get asked is, am I more than one dosha? And yes, everybody, because we have all 5 elements in our physiology, we have all 3 doshas in our physiology. So we are each a very unique combination of these doshas. And when we look at what our dominant dosha is, the elements that express the most strongly in our body and mind, that's what we call our dosha. We can have an equal combination of 2, which means we might be a double dosha, or we could be a triple dosha, which means we have an equal combination of all 3. The idea is that you are born with the dosha that you have, and that's your ideal state of balance. The other question I get is, do the doshas change? They don't change at all, but they are influenced by our environment. So the dosha you were born with is the dosha you're going to die with, but during the seasons, during your age, all these other external factors affect our state of balance. So when you're in a state of balance with your dosha, your prakruti is good. When you're in a state of imbalance, that's called vikruti. And the idea is to go from a state of imbalance to a state of balance. And how do we do that? That's all Ayurveda. Okay, so let's look at where we see the doshas in nature. Vata types, a gazelle. Picture a gazelle running along the Serengeti, or a little hummingbird flitting from branch to branch, or a bamboo tree, very thin and narrow and flexible. For pittas, it would be a tiger or an eagle or a pine tree, very strong and sturdy. And for kaphas, it would be an elephant, a swan, or an oak. How does this relate to us? The difference between doshas in nature and us is that a lot of us might say, yeah, well, I took the quiz and I'm a kapha, but I really want to be a vata. Can I be a vata? No, you can't be a vata. You were born as a kapha, you're going to be a kapha. The idea is you want to express the best kapha that you can be. And we're going to have some examples of those too. Okay, so these are the qualities of vata. Combination of air and space. Vata tends to be cold. This is how you can tell a vata when you meet someone, when you shake their hands, if they've got cold hands. Dead giveaway, they're a vata. Dry, they tend to get dry skin, dry hair, dry throat. I'm a vata type. You'll notice my voice gets raspier as I go on. Also very light. They tend to be underweight, if anything. It's hard for them to gain weight. It's very easy for them to lose weight. They're kind of like hyperactive. And it's also rough, too. Okay, Vata celebrities. We've got Uma Thurman, Will Smith, Jim Carrey, Gwyneth Paltrow, Barack Obama. These are people who you can see are more lanky in stature, and they also, look how smiley and jokey they are. They're very spontaneous, they're very creative, they're kind of the life of the party. They're fun to be around. They learn things very quickly, but they forget very quickly. They can be disorganized, but they're kind of people that you want to invite to your party. So Vata controls movement, like all movement. Vata people, one thing you can notice is the joints. You'll see like bones sticking out sometimes, very thin wrists with the bones sticking out. They're very flexible. Those yoga girls in class that can do the back bends really easily and stuff, probably Vatas. They, like I said, they're very cold, dry, light, and rough. Okay.
What do you mean by rough?
Like rough skin, rough, I have to think of more examples, but yeah, not smooth. Yeah, like more kinky, frizzy hair, not like nice, silky, smooth hair. Yeah, like that. Okay. So Vadas are very alert, flexible, responsive, enthusiastic, have a ton of energy when they're in balance. When they're out of balance, which usually means too much Vata. If they've got too much Vata, then they're restless, or they get tired very easily, or they can get constipated, because remember, the dryness is there. The dryness in the colon causes constipation. They also can have anxiety, because Vata is in the nervous system. So when Vatas get sick, they can be shaky. Sometimes Vatas get tremors, you know, and they're perfectly fine, but it's just they're getting older and their nervous system is not as functional as it used to be. And they can be underweight. Okay, so what do Vatas do to stay in balance? Vatas tend to, like any of the doshas, it tends to be like attracts like. So what you want to do to balance your dosha is go to the opposite. So instead of cold, dry, and light, you want to do warm, oily, and heavier. That's better. So you want to have warm cooked food. You don't want to have potato chips or crackers, right? Warm cooked foods. Soup rather than salad. That's better for you. Avoid wind. Vatas are so sensitive in the ears, and the wind really bothers them. And when Vatas start going out of balance, it's like this vicious cycle that it goes faster and faster and faster. And when Vata hits a wall, they're down for the count. Now they got to take a nap. I mean, it's just like they're go, 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 go. And then all of a sudden, and then the next day, I can't go anywhere. I have to recover, you know, so it just hits them really hard. Traveling is really hard for Vatas, especially when it comes to switching time zones and you're sleeping in a different bed. Vatas thrive on routine. I mean, the body is good with routine anyway, but Vatas really need that routine. And cold, dry weather, winter, fall, weather like this, actually it's not so bad here because there's a lot of moisture in the air from the ocean and everything, but when it's dry, it's miserable. And excessive mental work. Another way Vatas get really burned out is by working too much on the computer and thinking too much. And, you know, a lot of times, I was talking about this at lunch too, a lot of times people with ADD or ADHD, it's a Vata imbalance. And so if you start putting them on a Vata diet, Vata routine, exercise, that kind of thing, their ADD lessens, the symptoms lessen quite a bit. Where am I going? This is my Vata mind. I'm jumping from one thing to the other. See, this is like the perfect example. I'll get back to it when it comes to me. Okay, so they need to favor moisture, warm cooked foods, get good sleep. You know how, I'm a sleep expert too. I work for the Better Sleep Council as their spokesperson, so I'm teaching people how to get a good night's sleep every day. And the Better Sleep Council says you need 7 to 8 hours a night. Vatas need 9. Seriously, we need a lot of sleep. Not so good to get naps during the day though, because it breaks up our routine and we can't sleep at night then. So better to go to bed early and get up early, but you know, let yourself get the 9 hours of sleep that you need. Eat regular meals. Warm weather, oh yes, that's what we need. Sun, humidity, we love it, and time to relax. Okay, now we're on to Pitta. Pitta is a combination of fire and water. So a lot of times with Pitta people, just like with Vatas, when you shake their hand is cold. With Pittas, you shake their hand and their hand is very warm. They're the kind of people that are like, oh, can we turn the air conditioning on? And Vadas are like, are you kidding me? No way. But the Pittas are like, oh, they're taking their sweater off. They're like, no, you know. My husband in the winter, he's walking around in his shorts and bare feet. And I'm just like, I don't know how you're doing this. But he's very, very Pitta. But here, Jennifer Aniston, they're also more muscular. They're also very ambitious. You can see these guys, Madonna, Brad Pitt, Prince Harry, and that's Alex Rodriguez. They're very athletic because they're more muscular. They're very competitive. They make really good business people. They make really good lawyers because they love to argue. They just love it. They love that intellectual stimulation. You know, it's like a competition for them. They want to win. They want to win the argument. You know, what else can I say? How can I prove to be the smartest person in the room? That's kind of how they are. And that really works for them in the courtroom. Okay, so Pitta controls metabolism. It's also intense. A lot of people call it passionate, okay? So like when they want to win that argument, or they want to win over that person that they want a relationship, or they want to get that job, or they want to win that game or whatever, they will not stop. They are intense. They are goal-oriented. They run hot. They're also light. And they're sharp, meaning that they're very intelligent. They get it like this, you know? And they have no tolerance for people who are slower than them or that don't get it. You know, they're very impatient. They can be impatient. So, and they have more moisture in their system. They sweat. They're hot, so they sweat. Okay. So when they're in balance, Pittas can be very loving. They're very content, intelligent, articulate. They're very good speakers, very courageous and brave. A lot of times, another giveaway for a Pitta is you'll see some redness in the skin or in the hair. A lot, you know, we see freckles on people. Sometimes they're called sunspots. Most of those people are Pitta people. Those little sunspots, they're ruled by the sun. So to balance them out, you can go in the moonlight. So when they're out of balance, that's the perfectionist. When there's too much Pitta in the system, they turn into a perfectionist. They're impatient. They can get angry. Instead of being a good leader, now they'll be that bossy boss, you know. They can get irritable, frustrated. And another giveaway for Pittas is they'll get gray early or they'll get bald early. So a lot of times if you see like a 30-year-old guy and he's bald, there's a Pitta. And it's like the heat rises somehow and just burns off the hair off the scalp. I just can't understand it, but that's how they are. So what they need to do is to avoid the heat. They need to stay in cool conditions. Avoid alcohol. Alcohol is superheating to the system. Not good for any of us, but you know, like a Coffey can handle a little bit. A Vata doesn't need it anyway. They're high all the time. But Pitta, you know, they're so intense that it can become a problem for them. Smoking, of course, they should not smoke. Stress, because stress is just going to make that Pitta get out of whack even faster. And also, where like attracts like, talk to Pitta people, they're like, oh, I love spicy food. I love spicy food. Give me more spice. Give me more chili. That's the wrong thing for them. They don't need so much spice. They're spicy enough as it is. And also too much activity. Pittas tend to be workaholics. When they get something and they want something, they work and they work too much. Late hours and stuff, they need time to play. So they need cool weather, cool foods, downtime, water is super soothing for Pittas, and moonlight walks. That's like really great to help keep them in balance. Okay, and here's our Kapha people. Kaphas are made up of earth and water. So Kaphas tend to be more heavy sets. They tend to have beautiful, lustrous skin, thick, luscious hair, usually curly. You can see Angelina Jolie, George Clooney, Emeril Lagasse, Oprah Winfrey, and Sonu Nigam, my hero. They have beautiful melodious voices. They're amazing with music. These are the kind of people who are just, they're so full of love and they're so expressive. Okay, so Kapha controls structure. So that is like the bones, the skeletal system. So people who are Kapha types can tend to get like arthritis and bone diseases and things like that. They're also like super mellow. They're very easygoing people. They're great to have around. They're super loyal. They're like the most loyal friends ever. They tend to run cold. If you shake their hand, it's not cold like a Vata or warm like a Pitta. It's more like a little clammy, but soft. They have very soft skin. They tend to be more heavy set, a little more wet, and sticky. That they have that unctuous quality to them, because Kapha is also ruled in the chest area. So they can get allergies and they can get mucus and congestion and things like that. So that's where the stickiness comes in. Okay, so when they're in balance, they're affectionate, they're steady, they've got so much stamina, and they've got a really good resistance to illness. They have a great immune system. They can fight off illness very easily. But then when they're out of balance, that loving nature turns into possessiveness, jealousy, that kind of thing. They can be, easygoing, but then sometimes if you leave them to their own devices, they can be the couch potato. So they need that motivation. They are prone to allergies, and when they have a sleep disorder, it's not that they're not getting enough sleep, it's that they're getting too much sleep. They like sleeping, they like lounging in bed, but if they do too much of that, that makes them more lazy, and we don't want that. So they tend to get overweight. What they need to do to stay in balance is they need to avoid the cold, the damp, oversleeping, overeating, heavy foods. Okay, Kaphas love cheese. They love ice cream. These are all dairy products. They need to avoid them. All that congestion and everything just makes it worse. So whenever I meet a Kapha person and they're like, I'm struggling with my weight, I'm like, just give up dairy. Oh, I can't give up cheese. I'm like, try it. 1 month, try it, see what happens. And then they're like so surprised. And monotony. They can't have boredom. What they need is they need warmth. They need physical activity, exercise. Kaphas should exercise every single day to the point where they sweat. It's got to be aerobic exercise. They've got to get the heart rate up. They've got to, lift weights, whatever it is, but every single day. Vatas, if they exercise every single day, they're not going to work the rest of the day. They're going to be exhausted. Vatas don't need as much exercise. Pittas, they'll exercise if it's competitive, if it's fun for them, if it's a challenge for them. But Kaphas need it every single day. And they need mental activity. The best thing for Kaphas, besides exercising, is socializing. They are social animals. They tend to be, kind of the quiet ones. They won't really say anything. But if they do say something, it's very sweet. It's very kind. But, put them with their friends and let them laugh and have a good time, maybe cook a meal together, eat a meal together. They just light up, and they're their best self. And they're the kind of people that can take spices, any kind of spices. Spicier the better. And especially things like cinnamon that they'll tend to favor helps stimulate that kapha and helps burn the excess weight. Okay, so you may see that you identify with certain things in Vata, certain things in Pitta, certain things in Kapha, and that kind of gives you a clue as to what your dosha is. But how do we manage our doshas? Well, like I said, we are all affected by the times of the day, the times of the year, the seasons, and all that. Let's start with our daily clock. So say we're waking up at 6 a.m. That's the ideal time to wake up. And we'll talk about this more when we get to the Dinyacharya, which is our daily routine. And that is our sadhana. That is how we practice Ayurveda to get ready for enlightenment, okay? So we get up at 6 a.m. From 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., that's kapha time of day. Remember, kapha is slow and heavy. So this is our time when we're going to meditate, we're going to exercise, we're going to do our hygiene, shower, go for a walk, whatever we need to do to prepare for the day and have our breakfast. By 10 a.m., that's when we get to work, because 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., this is pitta time. This is our time when we are at our highest mental acuity. This is also the time between 12 and 1 when our Agni is the strongest. Agni is our internal digestive fire. So when we have lunch, lunch should be the largest meal of the day. Our digestion is the strongest, and we have more hours in the day to burn off all that extra energy. Then from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., this is Vata time. This is the time when we are our most creative. This is the time when we can problem solve, when we can dream up those ideas that we want to do in the future, when we can be a visionary, when we need to provide some artwork or, whatever it is, collaborate with people. This is the time to do it. And then by 6 p.m., ideally, you want to stop work. And now we're going back into kapha time, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., and this is the slow down time again. This is the time you're going to meditate, have dinner, go for a walk after dinner, and relax. Try to stay off the computer because you don't want to watch any screens before you go to bed. Screens just are going to increase your fire, the pitta, and then make it harder for you to go to bed. At 10 p.m., that's when you want to go to bed. That's the ideal bedtime. And the Maharishi did a study on this to scientifically prove it. And they proved it because they went out and recorded the sounds of nature all day, every day. The birds are singing a beautiful, slow, quiet, lovely melody during kapha time. Do, kind of like a lullaby lulling you to sleep. 10 o'clock comes and it's the bats come out and everything. It's like a cacophony. Everything's going on. Nature wants us to get to sleep by 10. If we don't get to sleep by 10, if we're like, okay, I'm just going to stay up one more hour. I'm just going to watch one more Netflix show. I'm just going to watch one more thing. Now we're getting into pitta time when our brain turns back on again. And we get that second wind, so it's harder for us to fall asleep. So try to get in bed by 10 p.m. What's happening during 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., this is the time the body heals itself. So it's really important. You don't want to miss those hours. Your internal physical system slows down enough so that you can go to sleep. And while you think you're doing nothing, all the organs are busy regenerating and doing all that stuff they need to do to renew themselves so that you can be fresh the next day. Then from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., Vata time again, what do you think's happening? This is our key dream time. And what's happening during dream time is our subconscious mind is solving problems for us that we couldn't solve in our waking state. So when we wake up in the morning, we may feel like, oh, I have this great idea to solve this problem I had that I couldn't think of during the day. But, there's something to it when people say, let me sleep on it. Because this is where it comes from. And then at 6 a.m., you get up again with the morning sun. This is how nature operates and how Ayurveda says we should operate because we want to be in harmony with nature, right? Okay. So, along with the clock, now we have the seasons. Now, this is the calendar for the northern hemisphere, but basically Vata season is the fall and winter months, when it's November through February here, when it's cold and dry. During this time, everybody feels the effects of Vata. Everybody's going to be a little more cold. Everybody's going to be a little more dry. Everybody's going to be a little more anxious. That's just the way it goes. During Pitta season, July through October, summer months, everybody's going to be more hot. If you know how to balance Pitta, if you know how to balance Vata, you can go with that, you know. Ayurveda says you should eat seasonal foods. Definitely eat seasonal foods. And you'll see that the Vata foods are seasonal for winter, the Pitta foods are more seasonal for summer, and the Kapha foods are more seasonal for the spring. And Kapha season is March through June when it's cold and wet. So you flip it for the southern hemisphere because it goes by the weather, not by the months. Make sense? Okay. So, let's see. Here's something else that affects us. Our age, as we age. Now, when we're born, all babies are a little more kapha than anything else. You rarely see a skinny baby, right? They're little bundles of joy, and they're oftentimes roly-poly. That's the way they're supposed to be. And babies are so full of love, just like kaphas. So we all start out as babies a little more kapha. Our dosha, our individual dosha, doesn't really begin to show until we're about 5 years old, until we start school. So you never know what your baby's dosha is going to be until they're like 5 or 6 years old. So we maintain our kapha influence on us until we're about 20 years old. But now, like these years, since Ayurveda is 5,000 years old, this was based on 5,000 years ago when the lifespan was at about 60 years old. Now we're living longer. So my speculation is that Kapha season is going more towards 25, Pitta season more towards 45, 50, and Vata season more after 50. But you'll notice that in Pitta season, this is when we go to college and we study and we're ambitious and we want to find our life partner and we want to buy a house and we want to get a career. And this is our life building time when that Pitta influence is on us so that we can build a life. By the time we get to our Vata season of life, now we can slow down and be more creative and do more of the things that we love. And it's interesting that I know so many people who, search for their dharma and they're just like, this isn't it, I'm just making money for now so I can do what I really want to do later. And then 40 seems to be a really critical age when they're like, I'm changing my entire life, I'm doing something else. This is the time you start a second career. Maybe you start a second family. Maybe you move across the country. Maybe your kids are graduated from high school or college, empty nester now. Big changes in life at about age 40. And that's how Vata is. Vata is changeable. Our hair grays, gets drier, all that stuff happens. Okay, so... so where do you go to meet the doshas? In my book about great relationships, what I did was I looked at how you pair up the doshas in any relationship so that you can get along with the people in your life. And this is super important when you're on the spiritual path, because when you're in a fight with somebody, or you think somebody's mad at you, or you're mad at somebody, that slows down your spiritual progress. When you're in that state of anger or frustration, very difficult to meditate, right? So to maintain good, healthy relationships, we need to look at how we work with the doshas. Vatas like to travel. they're not good travelers, but they love being in different places because they like novelty and spontaneity. They like culture, comedy, anything out of the ordinary. Pittas are sports people. Go to a game, you'll see Pittas. Politics. Kaphas like water sports, gardening, business, finance. They're homebodies too. They like all that stuff. When you have two Vadas together, whether it's friends or partners or whatever, it's a fun relationship. But if you have to live together, you better get a housekeeper because the house is going to be a mess. It's just, you're both disorganized. You don't know where anything is. You're going to forget appointments. It's just going to be like, oh yeah, but let's go here. Vata Pitta is an interesting combination because the Pitta person is super organized and the Vata isn't. So the Pitta is a good influence on the Vata in that way. And the Vata is more spontaneous where the Pitta isn't. So they can balance each other really good. There's no bad combinations of doshas at all. It's just you need to know what you're getting yourself into, right? Vata Kapha is a good combination too because Kaphas are so grounded and they bring a lot of calm to the crazy Vata mind. And then the Kaphas make the Vatas more stable. And Pitta, oh my gosh, they just love arguing with each other. It's one of those passionate relationships, but for some reason it works, and they challenge each other and they're competitive with each other, but they're getting ahead because they're like the power couple now. And Pitta Kapha, Pitta's fire warms up Kapha, and Kapha just like really helps cool the Pitta down. And Kaphas, just don't leave them at home alone because they'll be couch potatoes watching Netflix all day. Get some company over. They got to call all their friends. Okay, the difference about the Eastern culture and Western culture, usually I give this to an audience that isn't really familiar with Vedanta like you guys are, but in the East, we want to know what our purpose is. We want to know how to get ahead in life spiritually. Those are our goals, those are our ambitions, to be a good person, to be really healthy. Whereas in the West, sometimes it's very materialistic. I need a bigger house, I need a bigger car, and those desires only bring more desires. So you guys don't need to be sold on that, or you wouldn't be here. Okay, so here's mantras to help balance the doshas. So if you're feeling like your Vata is out of balance, you're feeling some kind of an anxiety, what you can do is chant the mantra Ram. Just slowly Ram. It helps boost your immune system and it helps alleviate fear and anxiety. Sometimes I'll do this when I'm on a plane, and I don't get anxiety because I think the plane's going to fall out of the sky. I get anxiety because there's so many people around and I'm just feeling their energy and everything, and it just is like, too much. So I'll just close my eyes and chant Ram a little bit to myself. The mantra for Pitta, it's just a general mantra, is Shreem. It helps promote health and harmony. And the mantra for Kapha is Hum. Hum. It's a very clearing, stimulating energy. So if you're feeling cough, congestion, anything like that, hum, hum, hum. You can even tap right here, and that'll help bring you back into balance. Okay, now we all have these 5 senses. For Vadas, the most dominant senses are touch and sound. So to bring a Vata into balance, beautiful music, or a massage, a warm, oily massage. And we can do this for ourselves. It's called Abhyanga. And in the Dinyacharya, you'll see it's part of the daily routine. For Pitta, the dominant sense is sight. They have very good vision, and they're sensitive to things. They pick up on little details. They're the detail-oriented people. Vadas are the big picture people. Pittas are the detail. Drives me crazy with my husband, but I know it's for my good, And Kaphas, taste and smell. This is probably another reason why they love food, the taste and the smell. That's comfort for them. You can use this dosha system in any relationship, like with your kids, to help find their learning styles. So if you know that you have a Vata kid and their dominant sense is hearing, you know they're probably an audio learner. They'll learn best by hearing it. You can teach them that way. Also, they're very tactile because of the touch. For Pittas, they need to see it. Draw me a picture, right? For Kaphas, taste and smell, so they need to like experience it. So let's do a science experiment in the kitchen, you know, that kind of thing. For careers, Vata people are so creative. So many people in the entertainment industry are Vatas. They're attracted to it because they want to be the storytellers. They want to do the make-believe. They want the unusual things. They like the sci-fi. They like the, you know, the dinosaurs, whatever it is. Pittas, like I said, are business people, politicians, lawyers, and Kaphas make good doctors, teachers. They're very patient, good caregivers, that kind of thing. Okay, so we just did that. So you can also balance your dosha by the colors you decorate your home with. So Vatas need warm colors, not the cool blues or silvers. They need more of the golds and rose and yellows and oranges, things like that. Whereas the Pittas need more of the silvers, the blues, the cooling colors like that. Kaphas can do anything, but they're better off with more bold colors than pastel. Give them more bold, bright colors. That helps to stimulate them. And for aromatherapy, Vatas get in balance with vanilla and rose, vanilla and orange. Pittas like rose and sandalwood. They're very cooling for them. And Kaphas, cinnamon and eucalyptus. They need stimulating. Now, in getting into food, there are 6 tastes in Ayurveda: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, pungent, astringent. Those are all the 6 tastes. And all the foods have some combination or one of those foods. For Vatas to stay in balance, they need to favor sweet, sour, salty. The idea is you want all 6 tastes in every meal, but if you're a Vata, favor sweet, sour, salty. If you're a Pitta, favor sweet, astringent, and bitter. And if you're a Kapha, favor bitter, pungent, astringent. Okay, so what are these? Here's some examples. Sweet is not just sugar, but honey, rice, butter, and bread. Those kind of things are sweet. Some of the meats are, you could call sweet too. Sour, lemon, cheese, yogurt, tomato, grapes, plums, vinegar. Salt is just salt. Bitter is your bitter greens and things like that, but also tonic water and spinach. And pungent, that's your spicy spices. And astringent are things like beans, alfalfa sprouts, apples, pears, potato. Now you have to think about it seasonally too, and what are the properties of food? Is the food heating or cooling? For example, lemons, great summer thing. It's like everybody wants to drink lemonade in the summer because it sounds so refreshing, right? But lemons are actually very warming. So it's not good to have lemonade in the summer. You can have like a little squeeze of lemon on your vegetables or something, but to have a whole thing of lemonade, you're just gonna heat yourself up more rather than cool yourself down. Instead, have limeade, because limeade, the lime is green, that's more cooling than the yellow warming lemon. Interesting, huh? Yep, okay. Here we go. So this is the part. This is our daily practice in Ayurveda. We're going to wake up at sunrise around 6 a.m. You don't have to do exactly sunrise because sunrises changes with the year, right? When we get up, we use the bathroom, brush our teeth, scrape our tongue. Very simple. Then these don't have to be in the exact order that they're in. You have to come up with your own routine, but these are the things you want to be able to check off your list, all these things. Also in the morning, what you want to do is drink some warm water, and maybe warm water with a squeeze of lemon or squeeze of lime in it, just to help kickstart your digestive system. and it lubricates your digestive system. The digestive system is really super important. It's where our health actually starts. So there's 3 parts of digestion. There's digestion, assimilation, and elimination. And all 3 have to be working optimally in order for us to get the most benefits out of our food. So digestion actually starts on our tongue with the taste. And then it goes through into the stomach. Now, if you start having digestive problems in the stomach, like acid reflux or whatever, that's a pitta imbalance, too much acid, too much sour, and you need to watch your pitta intake. And then it goes through the intestines and into the colon, where then it gets eliminated. And assimilation, what assimilation is, it's when the food is breaking down through the various organs, the nutrients from the food are going to exactly where they need to be. And that's why we want to eat fresh foods and intelligent foods. What makes foods intelligent? Intelligent means it's in season, it's not old, it was cooked recently, it has benefits to us. It's sattvic. So food that is leftover, it may be the healthiest food in the world, but if it's leftover from the day before, now that's dumb food. It's not junk food, but it loses a lot of its intelligence by sitting there overnight, even if it's in the refrigerator. What makes a food junk food? All the process that it goes through, the whole processed food thing, all the additives. Food that is in a can or it's in a box and it has a label and there's too many syllables on the ingredients, probably not good for you. Anything at a fast food restaurant, most everything at pretty much any restaurant you go to is not great for you. What's really important with Ayurvedic cooking is that you cook with love. And when you eat out at a restaurant, you don't know the mood of your chef, right? You don't know who he is and what attitude or whatever. Did you ever see that movie like Water for Chocolates? Yeah, and she's making the stew and she starts crying, and then everybody who eats the stew is like crying, and it's a real thing, you know? Oh, wait, I gotta go back. I'm not done yet. Okay, so we're gonna drink our water. Then we're gonna give ourselves an Ayurvedic Abhyanga, it's called. So you're gonna warm up some oil in your bathroom sink. And what you do is, there's 3 kinds of oils are the best for your skin. Coconut oil for pittas, olive oil for kaphas, sesame oil for vatas. So you can also do these seasonally. You know, in the summer, anybody can do coconut, olive oil or sesame oil any time, but in the winter, you don't want to do coconut. And you want to start at the top of your head. On days, if you're going to wash your hair, do your whole scalp. But you're going to massage round on the joints and long strokes on the limb, okay? And you just go from the top to the toes. And you want to pay special attention to the circumference of your ears, because you have what's called marma points in here. These are like acupressure points that correspond to various organs in your body. And so by giving yourself this ear massage, you're gently stimulating all of your internal organs. Same thing with the soles of your feet. Like you've probably heard of reflexology and everything, right? So pay attention to the soles of your feet too. Ideally, you want to leave the oil on your skin for 20 minutes. If you're doing this every single day, it's not so important to leave it on for so long. But ideally 20 minutes, especially if you're only doing it once a week. I do it every day, but it's only on for about 2 minutes, but I know I'm doing it every single day, so it's okay. So while it's on, while you're waiting for the 20 minutes to go by, you can do your yoga stretches, do whatever exercises work for you. It's all very individualized. You know, go on your walk, whatever you want to do. Do your exercise program. Then is when you take your warm shower or bath. The products you use on your skin are very important. So you don't want to use cream that has a lot of chemicals in it and things like that. You want to use real, natural, good ingredients. So make sure you read the labels or make your own, you know. You can just use coconut oil as a skin oil or lotion. There's a lot of Ayurvedic products from the Ayurveda Experience has some really good ones. MAPI has some good ones. Organic India, Banyan Botanicals, all of those are online, and they have really good products that are made with all of this in mind. Because your skin is eating whatever you put on it. So then, after the shower, now we're all clean, that's when we're going to go into the altar and do our meditation. So meditate 20 to 30 minutes before breakfast. Then we're going to eat a light breakfast based on our mind-body type. Now, some people, what they do is they have like a pre-breakfast. Like they can't wait all this long to eat some breakfast. So what they'll do is sometime in the beginning, after you brush your teeth, you have to brush your teeth before you eat because you don't want the bacteria from the teeth to go in your digestive system. After you brush your teeth, you could have a pre-breakfast, which might be some fruit, seasonal fruit. You could do some tossed apples or, what do they call it? Like when you could boil them in water, you know, the apples, and you put a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of clove or something in there, and then just eat those. Fruit in Ayurveda should only be consumed by itself. Never have fruit during a meal, never have fruit after a meal. Fruit digests so much faster than any other food that if you put it on top of other food, it's going to ferment the food below it and you're just going to get indigestion. It's not good. If you're a Vata, you're going to get gas because there's so much air and space in there and you can't handle it. Vatas need food that is warm and cooked every time. In the summer, they can get away with doing salad occasionally, but Vatas need food to be warm and cooked. The property of food is such that with our digestive system, in order for the food to be digested, assimilated, and eliminated properly, the food has to be cooked. If the food is raw, meaning it's not cooked on the outside of the body, the food has to be cooked on the inside of the body, which means our stomach, with that fire, is going to be burning really hard trying to cook the food so that we can digest it. Now for Pittas, that's not a problem. They've got tons of Agni in their stomach. They could eat like, you know, nuts and bolts. It doesn't matter. They'll figure it out. They can eat it. But with a Vata, very sensitive digestion, any little thing, you know, it's going to give us an upset stomach. Okay, so we're going to eat our breakfast, ideally warm cooked food. So oatmeal is a good one, cooked rice, something savory, whatever you like. But breakfast should not be large, should not be small, just medium, whatever is good for you. Try to avoid caffeine. If you're going to have caffeine, this is the only time of day you can have it. And Kaphas can handle it. Vatas, no way, and Pittas shouldn't. They can handle it, but they shouldn't. It'll just make them more of what they are, which is too much anyway. So then work or study, like we talked about with the clock. Then between noon and 1 p.m., when your Agni is at its high point, eat your largest meal of the day, which is lunch. Then you work or study again, and then when you go home before dinner, although most of us work at home now, right? So when you go to the other room, meditate before dinner. Better to meditate when there's no food in your stomach. You don't want to be sitting there digesting food when you're trying to transcend. When you're trying to go to those higher states of consciousness, you don't want to be busy digesting. Okay, and then you're going to have a light dinner. This is something easy to digest, just soup or dal and rice, vegetables, quinoa, you know, something light. Even a little primavera pasta. And then take a short walk after dinner. Walk your dog if you got a dog. You know, that's a good part of having a dog. And then relax. read, listen to music, write in your journal, read the gospel, or Vivekananda's complete works, whatever, to put your mind in a mood where you can relax and fall asleep. There are certain foods that we should, let's see, okay, let me just do the food thing first. So there are certain foods in Ayurveda that we might consider foods, but Ayurveda considers medicines, and so we need to be careful with those foods. For example, garlic. Garlic is delicious. Who doesn't like garlic? Garlic bread is fabulous. But we need to be careful with garlic because garlic is rajasic, meaning it is very stimulating to the mind. It's not a good thing to have stimulating to the mind when you're trying to calm the mind for meditation. So when you're serious about meditating, ease off on the garlic, ease off on the onion. When you do want to have onion or garlic is when you've got a cold. This will just boom, it's antiviral, antibacterial, boom, it'll knock the cold out. A combination of garlic, onion, and vitamin C is really such a good cure, and the hot water on top of that, you're gonna be good to go. Mushroom is another one that is considered a medicine rather than a food. Most Ayurvedic people who follow an Ayurvedic lifestyle don't have mushrooms. Also, you need to be careful with nightshades. So nightshades are like bell peppers, eggplants, tomatoes. What else are nightshades? Those kind of things, right? They are also rajasic, but you can take it, they're not as bad as garlic or onion. You can take it in moderation. If you have it once or twice a month, small amount, you just don't want to pig out and eat a whole eggplant by yourself, just a little bit. The problem with these is they block the channels. So there are 72,000 channels in the body called nadis. They connect the mind and body. It's how the mind communicates with the body. You want those channels to be clear. That way, you're at optimal health. The mind is communicating with the body, saying we're well fed, we're well nourished, good to go. Or the mind is saying, oops, that kidney needs a little more vitamin C. Okay, got it. Blah, blah, blah. They're in good communication. Everybody's working properly. But if a channel is blocked, then that's when disease can set in. You're going to be missing some nutrients or something's going to happen and you're going to get out of balance. Ayurveda is super great for getting you in balance, for preventing illness, for keeping you healthy. If you do get out of balance, then you have to do the prescriptive things to get back into balance. It's easier to just stay in balance in the first place, right? And just as a caveat, don't be afraid to see a Western doctor. Ayurveda doesn't say, no, we're doing Ayurveda, we're not doing Western medicine. Ayurveda says, Western medicine is good for what it does. Ayurveda is good for what it does. So if you break your arm, don't do an oil massage, go to a doctor and get a cast on your arm, right? If you have a mental health condition, you need to see a psychiatrist. There are things where Western medicine is important for us. And hopefully you get a Western medical doctor who understands all this, especially when it comes to your digestive system. I know so many people who have been misdiagnosed for years and years and years because their doctor never asked them, what are you eating? They're like, oh, you have GERD, or you have Crohn's, or you have this, and here's the medication. But they didn't say, what are you eating? And this is something you should not be eating. You're allergic to it, or you're sensitive to it, or this is what's causing it. So Ayurveda doesn't just treat the symptoms, it treats the cause, which is really important. Okay, so if you're a Vata, for exercise, you want yoga, walking, dancing. If you're a Pitta, you want to do, any kind of competitive sports. Water sports is great. And for a Kapha, just like running, bodybuilding, weightlifting, that kind of stuff. And Ayurveda says it's not just important to eat right and exercise, you have to be a good person. So all these behavior rasayanas like remedies, these are things that we all need to be aware of on a daily basis. And you'll notice it says, the most important one at the bottom, devote yourself to the development of higher states of consciousness. And that's what Vedanta is doing for us. So, like I said, we can see Ayurveda in the Bhagavad Gita, and I was going to read you a few passages because you might be surprised. Although here, this is my Vada organization here. So, okay, here's from the chapter 13 of the Gita. The great elements compose you: earth, water, fire, space, and air. Also, intellect, mind, and ego, senses and sense objects they share. The field, meaning the body, right? Chapter 13 is the field and knower. The field has limits and it changes, so be careful with what you do. Be humble, harmless, and helpful. Be tranquil, steadfast, and true. That's all in the Gita. That's Ayurveda. There's also the gunas. There's a whole chapter dedicated to the gunas in the Gita. And it tells you the guna rajas is impulsive. It's all about the passion, whether pleasure or possession. It makes you hungry for action. The guna tamas makes you lazy, binding you with delusion. Tamas is born of ignorance, bringing dullness and confusion. And sattva enslaves you to happiness, and rajas enslaves you to take action, and tamas enslaves the deluded and darkens their every decision. The guna that is the strongest prevails over the other two. Be ever mindful of which guna has its influence over you. So when you're sattvic, you're in balance. When you're in tamas, it's not enough of something. You're out of balance one way. When you're rajasic, you're out of balance the other way. Too much, too much, too much, too much. Right? So we want to find that little sweet spot where it's the good food, the good exercise, the everything that we need, that Goldilocks, that fulcrum of the balance that makes us our happiest and healthiest. Okay, any questions? Yes?
Just one question? All right, so it's about the food.
Yeah.
You talked about not having fruits on after you eat something. But from the modern nutrition science, we've been told that we should not eat fruits on an empty stomach because that spikes up the blood sugar levels and it could lead to diabetes and stuff. So how do I reconcile with what Ayurveda recommends?
Okay, so one way you can get around that with the diabetes and everything and on an empty stomach is by cooking the fruit. So cooked blueberries, cooked bananas, cooked apples, those kind of things, that helps with the properties of food to make them more easily digestible. That helps. But yeah, you can have fruit on an empty stomach, but cooked fruit on an empty stomach is better. And fruit, even if it's just 2 hours after a meal or 2 hours before the next meal, is going to be better for you than mixing it with food that it doesn't match with. There's a whole science of food combining. And one of the things is never mix fruit with dairy, which is like shocker, right? Because everybody wants smoothies. Oh, smoothies are so great. No, smoothies are not great. Dairy and fruit are two totally different opposing tastes and actions and qualities on your system, which makes your system go, wait, what am I having here? And spinach should not be eaten raw. A lot of people eat spinach as a salad. Not good. Spinach needs to be cooked. Any of those dark green leafies should be cooked. Yeah.
Hi, just a quick one on one of your earlier slides you mentioned showering with warm water in the morning. Does the Ayurvedic tradition have any view on this current fad of showering with cold water or hot cold? There's all these kinds of things flying around social media these days.
Yeah, I don't know. It's 5,000 years ago, so I don't know if they even had water heaters back then, so they don't really specify. But Ayurveda also says you need to do what is comfortable for you. So if you like that, if you think that's a good thing for you, do it. If you're like, I don't want to take a cold shower, then don't. You know what I mean? You listen to you. Your internal intuition is always the smartest.
Thank you. So every time I see an Ayurvedic presentation, I always feel like my nutritionist or my doctor is doing me wrong, as it were. So I've been told to have cereal, big thing of blueberries with cereal every morning. I have it with hemp milk or with cereal. But so, my question is, how do you reconcile all this stuff? Because I hear one thing from one person. I would feel like I'd have to completely, radically change my diet. And maybe I do need to do that.
Well, the good news is that Ayurveda says you don't have to do Ayurveda 100% to get the benefits. You only have to do Ayurveda 51% to see the benefits. You don't have to do everything. So you can pick and choose what you want to do, what you're comfortable with. If you find that those things are working for you, you can add in other things. But honestly, I've been living this Ayurvedic lifestyle for 25 years now, and I'm 63 years old, and it shows that I'm super healthy, you know, and have a lot of energy, whereas my sister, who's 3 years younger, has chronic illnesses. Everybody thinks she's my older sister, you know, and it's like one thing after another, and that's the only difference. But, you know, she's living her lifestyle, I'm living mine. That's her choice. I can't, you know, do anything about that.
Excess fat around belly areas which is not getting done by the yogasana. What Ayurveda suggests?
Okay, say that again, slow.
The belly fat that won't go away.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a...
yoga. How can Ayurveda fix it?
Okay, yeah, so there's like a pitta belly. So yeah, that happens in older age. So sometimes you need to address the overall health. So you have to look at how you want your metabolism to go faster. So what you can do is it has to be a combination of things. I wish there was a magic bullet, you know. Don't do Ozempic or anything like that because there's too many side effects and things like that. But you have to do a combination. So you need to do the exercise, do the diet, really cut back on sugar. Sugar is really hard. This is what it's all about. Like it's called beer belly also, but you probably don't drink beer, you know, because you're Hindu. So it's not coming from beer. It's probably coming from sugar or dairy. So if you just cut out sugar first, see if that doesn't help it go away. And sugar is also, remember, sugar is present in carbohydrates because carbohydrates convert to sugar. So you need to cut back on the carbs a lot. And then if that doesn't work, then also cut out the dairy and see if that works because that'll do.
Sugar in fruit too?
Yeah, not as much because it's not processed sugar. We won't try just sweets first, you know, and breads, things like that, big carbs. And then, you know, if you need more, you can add more. I hate to say just give up all sugar because it's too strict and just people won't do it. It's too hard. You want to take it in baby steps, little by little, what you are comfortable with.
Yeah, is taking a questionnaire online an accurate way to know your doshas, or is it better to go to Ayurvedic practitioner
Yeah.
if you have access to one?
Right, that's like such a great question. So you can like self-diagnose yourself with a quiz or whatever. That's just a good place to start for your own self-knowledge. And if you just want to get on an Ayurvedic routine and get an overall general sense of what kind of routine you should be on, then a quiz is fine. If you know you have some sort of an imbalance, that's when you really need to go to an Ayurvedic practitioner. And what they will do, they will give you a much more comprehensive quiz. They will take your pulse. There's like a 3-finger technique where they can measure Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and they can tell the difference between your Prakruti, your state of balance, and your Vikruti, your state of imbalance. So it's a very scientific and sensitive method. You need an Ayurvedic practitioner who's been in business doing pulse diagnosis for a long time. Like, I never got my doctor's certificate because I didn't want to be an Ayurvedic doctor and work one-on-one with people. My job is Ayurvedic ambassador. So I teach people about Ayurveda and living a healthy Ayurvedic lifestyle. That's where my role comes in. So I can't take your pulse, sorry.
Padma, can you talk to us about tofu?
Okay, so tofu is one of the no foods because it blocks the channels. It blocks those nadis. So it makes it harder for you to meditate. It makes it easier for you to get sick. It really kills your immune system. Soy is just not good for you in any way, shape, or form. So no soy milk, no tofu, no edamames, no things like that. Soy is also a very high allergen. So many people are allergic to soy and they don't even know it. I am one of those people. I was living such a healthy lifestyle and I was getting sick. I'm like, I'm on an Ayurvedic lifestyle. What is going on? And then someone told me, go to an allergist. So he did a whole block of tests and he's like, I'm gonna test you. I said, oh, it's not soy. I eat tofu all the time. I'm fine with tofu. There were no external symptoms of, I'm feeling sick or whatever. It was just I was so fatigued and abnormally so. He gave me all these tests and he says, yes, you're allergic to soy. I said, well, how allergic to soy? Because I love soy sauce and I want, stir-fried teriyaki. I love all this stuff. He goes, he gave me a breathalyzer test and took my blood pressure before and after eating soy. I had to bring soy to the doctor's office. The difference was incredible. He said, you are so allergic, you need an EpiPen. And he said, so many people are allergic to soy and they don't even know it. They just think they're chronically fatigued. They think they're eating healthy because they're having soy instead of red meat. But it's like a silent killer. So there are so many options now. So many different kinds of beans and lentils and oat milk and almond milk and all different stuff that we don't have to suffer, 40 years ago when I became a vegan, it was difficult, but now the world is changing and everybody's seeing the benefits of a plant-based diet. We just need to be careful and find out what our individual things are. People these days are getting sicker from foods than ever before, and that's because of the additives, the GMOs, the foods that the cows are eating, all that kind of stuff. So the idea with Ayurveda is eat clean. I mean, if you could grow your own food in your own yard so there's no pesticides and everything in there, organic, that's the best way, but not all of us can. So if you have a choice and you're going to the market, choose the organic. It might be a little bit more expensive, but isn't getting sick a lot more expensive, So when you have choices, do that. Avoid frozen foods, avoid freezing your own foods because freezing foods kills the food. It's automatically dumb food right there. Avoid the microwave. The microwave kills all the intelligence in the food. Don't have that. It drives me crazy at the temple because they're always micing their food, and I tell the swamis, no, I want to steal your microwave so you don't use it. They're like, it's just so convenient. I'm like, yeah, but don't microwave your food, swamis. So what can you do? You can't convert everybody.
Padma, we want to keep going on and on, but this is the last question.
Okay.
Can you tell us about the bad food combinations in Ayurveda?
You know, there are so many, and you can look on my website because I'm a Vedanta, so I can't keep them all memorized. I learn very quickly, but I forget very quickly. So unless I have notes, I can't tell you what it is. But there is a chart of food combining on my whatsyourdosha.com website. So I just want to leave you with this, where Ayurveda says you should love as is. The point of Ayurveda is so you can understand who you are and also understand who everyone else is. So just like an eagle doesn't want to be a hummingbird, and a hummingbird doesn't want to be a swan, you can be happy with who you are. And you can be happy that your eagle husband is an eagle and not try to make him be a swan. You know what I mean? So this is how we can get along in life with all the people in our life. And then I just want to leave you with this. This is I have the book, What's Your Dosha, Baby? But I also have this Song Divine about the Bhagavad Gita and the songs of the Bhagavad Gita, if you're interested in that. And you'll see the verses from Ayurveda, because I kept all the Ayurveda verses in there. Ayurveda was my gateway to Vedanta. That's how I discovered Vedanta. My son had ADD, and I wanted him to avoid medication when he was little, so I started studying alternative remedies, found Ayurveda, fell in love with Ayurveda, met Deepak Chopra, he introduced me to Vedanta, and the rest is history. So, all right, that's everything. Thank you guys so much.